No, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. This is the wrestling podcast that we do where we talk about the week in wrestling, provide some analysis, do some reviews, some previews. We've got all of that tonight. News, reviews, previews, except pronouncing them consistently and correctly. That's all that you have to leave at the door. Thank you very much for being here. If you're watching this on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes right now, thank you. I appreciate it. Leave a like and a subscription if it's your first time here as well. I'd be very much obliged. It's the same thing if you want to follow me on your favorite audio podcast side of things, right? Audio podcast, there's video podcasts, audio podcasts. Listen, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify help out a great deal. And if you want to follow there as well, look, anything that you can do, little details like that, they help the podcast grow tremendously. So that's very exciting. So thank you very much for your help in advance. Hey, and by the way, I am now officially on YouTube Music. I don't know if you're into that. I don't know if you listen to your podcast on YouTube Music. I'm about to find out if you do. But if that makes it easier for you to find it and enjoy what I do, well, go right ahead. It's right there. It's just waiting for you. We're also waiting for you on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description if you want to pop in, say hello, talk pro wrestling. It's a good time. Gate yourself off into a community of like-minded people instead of trying to argue with weirdos on Twitter. I know we're formerly known as Twitter. How about that? Come and join us there. It's a good time. We'd love to have you. And of course, my schedule continues down its regular path this week because last week we bumped over to Monday for the recordings and then released on Tuesdays, but now everything's back to normal. So you're listening to this right now. That's awesome. I'll be back on Thursday for the Dynamite review and back on Sunday for the Collision review, which a lot of people took umbrage to my Collision review this week, apparently telling me that I said the show was skippable. They said, well, Warren, I liked it, but I never said I didn't like the show. I didn't say it was bad. I said it's skippable. I think the show, you can skip over it, and that's that. That's okay. Everyone is open. I'm open to opinions. I'm open to discussion. It's just, I thought it was interesting that people were telling me, but Warren, I liked the show. I never said I hated the show. I said it was skippable. And there's stuff on the show I liked on top of that. I just think it was not required viewing. You could absolutely skip it and you wouldn't miss a thing. And hey, if you want more of that, Collision happens on Sunday, the reviews. But as for right now, we are doing this is what we're doing here for tonight, for today, whenever you're listening. Some aftermath on last week's Super Tuesday head-to-head NXT Dynamite stuff. We have Vince McMahon out of creative. You mean he wasn't already? We're doing, and we're also going to be reviewing New Japan Pro Wrestling's Royal Quest III. We're going to be previewing New Japan Super Jr. Tag League and Impact Bound for Glory. Impact's upcoming pay-per-view happening this weekend. Thank you all for being here. Let's get to it. It's the weekly wrestling inspection. One week ago, Mr. Warren Hayes Show was recorded live, as we do every week, typically on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. But last week, it was recorded on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Jeez Louise, what happened? Why? What occurred in the history of planet Earth to budge the juggernaut that is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show from its rightful time slot? Well, it was because NXT and AEW decided to go head to head once again, just like in the good old days. Just like in the good old days all the way back in 2019. Remember the halcyon days? That was the big head to head Tuesday last week, Super Tuesday, let's call it. And it was something. Everyone got revved up for it. Both AEW and NXT decided to go all out with this one. They decided to just pour it on try to get the attention of the other guys, of the other guy's audience, and so on and so forth, right? You know how ratings work. They try to get the casuals. So they pulled out all the stops. Both announced commercial-free 30 minutes, right? The first 30 minutes of both shows, commercial-free. I think Dynamite was a little longer, wasn't exactly 30 minutes, wasn't closer to 40. Like NXT, I think was like 30 minutes right on the button or close to. And Dynamite was like closer to 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Then we had 43 minutes before either went to commercial. Look at that. Okay. Says chat. Then they also announced that there'd be overruns. 8 minutes for NXT, 14 minutes for AEW, ultimately. And AEW, on top of that, added a 0 hour to the show, where we had Mr. 0 Hour himself, Minoru Suzuki, show up to take on Eddie Kingston. Remember the last time they did this? They did the YouTube 0 hour? You know, on an impromptu night like that. Do you remember the last time that was? That was Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. And they got Suzuki in, who quite possibly, quite assuredly, he took a red eye into town, where Independence, Missouri. We've been down the Missouri path on a previous episode. We're not doing it again. And so he decided, so like did they call him like during his match? Because he was wrestling in Japan on Monday, and then he shows up in the United States on Tuesday. So not bad. Got him in there. So both sides just stacking it up, ready to go. Just wanting more and more and more. And then the one thing that WWE was able to do that NXT was not able to respond with, no, it's the opposite. The one thing that WWE did that AEW was not able to respond with was load up NXT with non-NXT / main roster stars. On this show, we had Cody Rhodes, Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Shotzi Blackheart, Booch, Rich Holland, Becky Lynch, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, John Cena, LA Knight Dummy, yeah, Jade Cargill. Well, yeah, I guess she is main roster. Okay. I just threw some names down and myself, I'm doing some self editing. I was like, wait, Jade Cargill. Paul Heyman, Tegan Knox, Solo Sikoa, and The Undertaker. The chock full of the main roster stars to light up that night. Hey, Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling, nice to see you and welcome, buddy, and thank you. But the full winner on this evening, where no stops, nothing, all the stops were being pulled to try and get the win here. The big winner here, to the surprise of no one really, was NXT with 900,021 viewers, total viewers, and a 0.3 in the demo, versus AEW that did 609,000 viewers with a 0.26 in the demo. So the shows finished number 2 and number 4 respectively for the night on cable, second and third behind ESPN in the time slot. I'd say not a bad showing overall for both of these pro wrestling sports organizations. Now, I'm just going to lob some final thoughts here on this because, I talked about it a little bit. No, I didn't even talk about it on the review on Thursday because the ratings hadn't been released yet. And I don't really talk about it, but, we did talk about the structure of the shows, so on and so forth. There's no spin to put on this. This was bad for AEW and tremendous for WWE. Okay? Only the freakiest of freakazoids can spin this into something positive. This was not good. They got smoked. And that was my impression. That's what I thought we were going to get. So I'm not surprised. That's pretty much what I had been telling everyone as we were. That's pretty much what I was telling everyone as we were leading into the event. I felt they were going to lose, and they did. They lost really, really bad. So listen, I'm not going to review the Dynamite. As I said, I do my Dynamite reviews. It's out there, available on last Thursday. It's right there if you want to go watch it. Not just yet, because this is live. I want you to stick around. Engage me, please. Who do you like better, Brett or Sean? So what am I talking about? I've already lost where I'm going here. So I all you need to know is that I really liked Dynamite, and I know there's some people who thought it was very average, but I thought it was quite good. Wouldn't say it's a perfect show. But you know what? It felt like a big Dynamite. And my main takeaway from this, my absolute main takeaway, and I want to make sure that everyone has heard me say this once. The main takeaway I've got from this is, despite let me start over. I'm trying to say too many things at once. When it's time to fight, when it's time to go head to head, when it's time for AEW to put its best foot forward, it puts the wrestling forward. We didn't spend time on tons of pre-tapes and interminable promo segments. No, we had back-to-back wrestling. There was, of course, the one promo with MJF, Jay White, Juice Robinson. But other than that, it was just wrestling, good wrestling, solid stuff, great wrestling. And yet, week after week after week, we get to a point where it's like, week after week, it's like, we're trying, they lean in a little more into the sports entertainment, or they're doing this goofy stuff. And yet, when it's time to go head to head, they stack it up like a pay-per-view because they know, AEW knows that WWE cannot even remotely connect with them when it comes to in-ring work. They're on two separate planets. So I still think that's interesting. That's my main takeaway from the setup to this evening. Because look, we started Dynamite started off with Danielson versus Swerve. And on NXT, it started off with Cody Rhodes with a promo. I mean, you could not have a more Tale of Two Worlds. Technically, Dynamite had a cold open with Christian Cage, sure. Okay. But it wasn't a 7-10 minute thing. He said his piece, took about 2 minutes, and then we went into the wrestling. So I liked the show a lot, all right? Though I felt the main event was the creakiest part of the ship. How about that? That's what, ultimately, I thought Luchasaurus and Edge was the, I didn't think it was the strongest match that they had, and they decided to put it on last. I don't think it was that compelling a main event. Unfortunately, the quarter hour showed that as well. But, and the match itself was very much a WWE structure type of match. So I can't sit here in good conscience and tell you, hey, this absolutely ruled, because it kind of didn't. The main event was what it was, and didn't get me excited. Like I said, the ratings showed it too. Edge versus Luchasaurus doesn't exactly scream, I gotta watch this, And it's an interesting decision to put up in your main event that has John Cena hanging around and the tease of an Undertaker presence, right? It's kind of a strange decision. Did you see, when I say you, I mean, AEW, I mean Tony Khan. Did you want to see how Adam Copeland would perform ratings-wise in this untenable situation? Did you just give up? Because was the rest of what you had on your show, was it so pristine that you didn't want it to end up being buried into the final segments of NXT Mania? But I thought it was a bold choice to finish with that match, quite frankly. The demo soared for NXT, and in the overrun. It soared. It just went. And since we're talking about quarter hours for ratings and whatnot, what was the strongest quarter hour for AEW? Quarter hour 3, 2, the one with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole, the pre-tape. That was the strongest one. It's the only quarter hour in the demo, if I'm not mistaken, that AEW won. Goes to show how much what I know. I can't stand the stuff. And yet there we go. But what I do know is that everything tumbled from that point on. MJF stuff works. It just works. I can sit here until I'm blue in the mouth telling you how the pre-tapes stink. I got no time for him. I got no purpose for him. But his stuff worked. It connected. It was interesting. People liked it. And this Tuesday, the angle and what? Look. Let's talk about it, okay? Let's talk about the quarters angle. I spoke again. Look, I've been just like pretty much every other person who does even remotely what I do. I'm going to talk about the quarters angle again, even though I talked about it on Dynamite Review. I touched on it a little bit on Collision, and I also talked about it when I went to guest hosted Shake Them Ropes with Jeff Hawkins over on the Voices of Wrestling Network. You should check that out. It's always a good time. I love hanging out with Jeff. But look, here's the cliff notes in regards to how I feel about the quarters angle. And I'll have all my bases covered. I'll have talked about it on the mothership and everywhere else. Okay? So you can't say, Warren, I never heard you speak about this. No, it's everywhere now. So here are without going too much into the weeds, here are my thoughts. We had to expect that MJF's bully story, the one that he told twice with the quarters, we had to expect that this was going to be used in an angle at some point. The way it's done and it's presented, nonetheless, it makes me uncomfortable. Because these are topics, anti-Semitism, hate in general, that need to be handled with finesse. And this is a business where all you're expected to do is get yourself over. There is no finesse in pro wrestling. This stuff is brute forced. Okay? We're not gonna try and study the sociological impacts of these events and how how it helps develop people into who they are today and the repercussions that it has around the community or whatnot. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to deliver this angle in a compelling message. This, again, is all about getting over. And I'm not trying to knock the business in that regard. That's just how it operates. That's how it's about. That's what it's about. Pro wrestling, though, and this is the one thing that we have to keep in mind, is not really known to have a great history in regards to minority groups, people of color, marginalized groups. Technically speaking, they've always been at the butt end of it. Things have changed, but we're talking decades of this being a part of the fabric, institutionalized, if you will. So when I see this kind of stuff happen, I can understand the discomfort that a lot of people have, including myself. I can understand, and I cannot blame anyone for being upset about AEW deciding to pull the angle on this and go, oh, this is not great. Because, it's the same thing with Retribution when they started that, in the midst of the Black Lives Matter protests, right? Suddenly you have a bunch of, people dressed in black hoodies, ski masks, throwing shit at WWE headquarters and trying to wreck stuff. And we're supposed to believe, no, this is nothing to do. I even had a discussion with on air with another pundit at the time saying, oh, well, it's just another story. They talk, in other TV shows, they bring up these tales, these real world things, again. Yeah, but the other shows that do it have they'll probably end up dealing with it in a more compelling way than just like, hey, look, these people are smashing windows just like the people on TV that you don't like in the news that are scary. So again, I understand why people get upset, and you know what? And you can't escape this. The optics, the timing of doing this, what was happening in the Middle East, it was awful. It should have been kiboshed. There's no two ways about it. Like, this should have been. We should have taken a step back and like, is this the right moment? We crucified WWE for the Muhammad Hassan angle, what was it, the weekend of the day after of the London bombing, right? And we're doing the Muhammad Hassan angle. It's the same type of situation. It's poor taste, poor optics. It could have been pulled. Now on Collision this week, after we did the whole quarters thing last week, on Collision this week, Juice decided to pull out a ring of his own, right? He's got his own little ring, right? And it's not a big custom diamond ring, like MJF had. He bought it at a department store. I don't remember which one. And he said, I can use this to knock out people as well, right? And he puts it on, and they test it on Christopher Daniels, who he already beaten in a match. And he just, Daniels just drops like he's dead, and he stays dead for the rest of the segment. Which leads me to believe that they are not going to do the quarters on Wednesday because they introduced this new way for Juice to knock out, to pose a threat, quote unquote, to MJF. Now, this leads me to believe, I am not saying they're not going to do it, but I feel like they created an out for themselves by introducing this ring, because Juice didn't use the quarters in the match. When I saw this match, I was like, okay, they're going to give Juice a bit of an enhancement match, and he's going to use the quarters so that people have seen him use the quarters before the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal thing. But they didn't even do that. No, we're introducing a ring as well. So I feel like they've, like I said, created an out. Let's see if they use it. But as I said on the review, It's still bad optics. They shouldn't have run it beforehand. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. This one's out. You can give kudos to them if they do decide to go down this route as opposed to the quarters. Hopefully, cooler heads prevail here. But the deed was still done. That's something they can never take back unless they find a time machine, go back in time and Mandela affect this into our brains. But, you can't. That's something that just you can't explain. No, actually, you can't explain why they do it again. But you can. It would be strange for them to do it now that they have like a secondary means for Juice to win the match or use something against MJF. That makes sense. Anyway, that being said, I thought MJF's promo on Dynamite last week was phenomenal. Like, this is the kind of promo that I adore from MJF. This is where I find he is spectacularly good. And he was fired up. He was passionate. He was speaking from the heart. Like, everything worked. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I adore from MJF and what makes him as good as he is. But, nonetheless, no matter how good MJF was at this, or anyone else on that show for that matter, NXT kept just won the ratings, right? But Warren, yes, hello, but they filled the show up with main roster people. That's why they lost. That's a very interesting observation. You're absolutely right. I failed to see your point, though. Well, it's if there were no main roster people, maybe they would not have won. Okay, but they won. And they wanted to win. Because you are correct, invisible person that I am arguing with. They absolutely did win. That's all they wanted to do. That's why they stacked up everyone on this show. That's why they brought out Undertaker. It's not because they, we'll squeak by. No, they wanted to trample all over them. AEW was already at a disadvantage. They were on another night. They were not on their usual Wednesday night slot. And when you do that, every show that moves nights loses viewers. That's just a thing. Not just in wrestling, in everything. So of course they won. That's what they wanted. That's what WWE wanted. Will this translate into more viewers on NXT overall? Probably not. Will there be some retention over the past 2 to 3 weeks? Maybe. Sure. Probably. Yes. Yeah, I'd go with that. But overall, raising the bar, raising the standard, I don't think so. Let's say, obviously, there were people who, and look, I did my due diligence, and I went back and I watched most of NXT. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I watched the whole thing, but I did consume some of the more important parts. Let's put it that way. Look, so let's say, put yourself in this hypothetical. Let's say you're someone who doesn't typically watch NXT, because clearly there was a lot of people who don't typically watch NXT who tuned in. So let's say you did that, and you jumped in, and you decided to watch because they had been hyping this, on Raw, on SmackDown, whatever. John Cena was going to be there. Oh, Undertaker's going to be there. Oh shit, LA Knight's going to be there. Like everyone, Cody. They're just stacking this one sky high. And you come in here and you watch the show. I legitimately wonder what is the incentive a main roster watcher has in continuing to watch NXT. Because there was a lot of stuff here. I'll tell you what. I understand why they did it. But I don't see how it translates into new viewership. Justin Firestein, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. And Omizi20. Good to see you as well. Here, let me give you see, Cody comes in and he's GM for the night and he announces the Dusty Classic, which is what a lot of us thought was coming, right? Oh, he's going to announce the Dusty Classic. LA Knight, dummy, yeah, is doing the special guest ref thing. Baron Corbin is here. Noted main roster geek, Baron Corbin. If you're a main roster guy and you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck is this guy doing here, right? Because I don't think anyone sat down going, woo, let's go so I can always get myself more Baron Corbin. I don't think anyone does that. Roxanne Perez lost to Asuka. You know, main roster people going over the local talent. Again, I understand, like, this is developmental. Don't get me wrong. But still. And then you get to the main event, Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker, your two top guys, arguably, right? I don't think I'm that off, right? So you're watching this. You see these two guys put on a snoozer of a match, which we know they're capable of snoozing it up because they had a snoozer a couple of months ago. So I don't know what the decision was to put these guys together. They don't have chemistry. They don't connect all that great. Look, yeah, I still don't. I still think Braun Breaker has a tremendous amount of work to do. And I don't think Carmelo Hayes is the top guy that everyone seems to pretend he is or believe he is. I think he's going to be a very competent mid-card guy, upper mid-card guy that, you know, but he's not a top guy. I don't know what they see in these people, but they see them go through this match only to have Undertaker come out at the end and chokeslam one of your top guys into the dirt. So again, if I'm a main roster watcher, I'm like, well, what's the point of me watching this? What is the point of me coming back to watch these geeks? And Undertaker can barely walk anymore. Fucking hell. Like, this is, thank God they didn't do the full, the full dead man entrance. They did the vroom vroom motorcycle gang guy. That's how motorcycles work, right? You go like this. And sometimes you go, right? You're popping something when you do that. You pop, something's popped. You popped, is it a gasket? What is it you pop when you're doing, you know? That's the Undertaker's. That's the American highwayman, the American badass, the motorcycle man, the patches and cream. And what am I even talking about anymore? Look. The point I'm trying to make is that you have Undertaker come out to take out the guy who won. Just splatter him. He didn't. I don't remember. Look, it doesn't matter. But he comes in and takes one of the guys, one of the top guys in the main event, and splatters him. So why am I watching this shit? Undertaker's not going to be back for the next few weeks. Okay. And besides, they had already been doing it for the past few weeks, sending all sorts of main roster talent to NXT, right? Like Becky Lynch and Baron Corbin. But you know, they did Seth too a few weeks ago, and Dominic Mysterio was a thing, and you know, Rhea. Like at this point, I'm just curious. The moment that they stop sending main roster people to NXT, what is going to happen? Because right now NXT is doing very good on Tuesday nights. off the backs of a lot of main roster pull. And I don't think there was that much of a showcase. I really don't think there was that much of a showcase for the NXT people to sort of stretch their legs and get people excited to come back. Tiffany Stratton had a pre-tape promo or backstage promo. Put her in the ring. Put her in the middle of the ring. Have her cut a promo there. It's so weird. I guess you had to have time for Paul Heyman giving pointers to Braun Breaker. I guess Jason Major, nice to see you, member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Welcome. It's good to see you again. And I know I know a lot of AEW fans took this loss badly, but none took it as badly as AEW's boss, Tony Khan. Now, Tony, though, it's one thing to sort of, kick a can down the street because you're really pissed, then move on with your life. But Tony just tweeted through it. And quite frankly, little embarrassing. It was a little embarrassing. I didn't know what you all thought. But let me make one thing clear. When in the lead up to the Super Tuesday, Tuesday Night Titans, the Taboo Tuesday, whatever you want to call it. When he decided that he was tweeting out, shots, and he was just, being petty, throwing fuel on the fire. I was like, let's go. I want them to go head to head every week. That kind of shit entertains the hell out of me. I thought that was tremendous. The bald asshole meme and all that. Listen, all of that was great. And I wish there were more of it. And all of you, if there's anyone out there, tugging at their shirt collars, holding it tight and going, well, I couldn't imagine a CEO of a company acting so poorly in public. Y'all are still on Twitter, which is owned by Elon Musk, not exactly well known for his good behavior. And yet, you're offended by Tony Khan tweeting out, we're going to beat you, and taking shots at Vince McMahon in the lead up. You're offended by that, but you'll still continue to use the service of a man who is a very clear transphobe, man whom, leans a little too hard into the alternative of the right. But y'all cool with that? Oh, you get a good chuckle out of him. Vince McMahon took out a full-page ad in the New York Times in the mid-90s addressing TNT shareholders, wondering if Ted Turner was acting in their best interest or if it just was out of a vendetta towards Vince McMahon. He took that out in the full page in the New York Times and then ran the ad in local papers. There's no precedent being sent here. No precedent being set here in any way, shape, or form. So in the lead up, I was enjoying this. I am here for the chaos. I cannot tell you, my A-plus audience, sitting here listening to this D-list podcaster right here. I cannot tell you enough how much chaos is important to pro wrestling. How better it makes everything. The status quo stinks. It stinks. I much rather this kind of stuff. I'd much rather CM Punk throwing tantrums to 2 decades of there's only one place to work and we don't like you and we don't like you and you're not. This works. This is fun. Fun. But it stopped being fun when, 2 days after the ratings were announced and NXT won, it stopped being fun when Tony Khan continued, as they like to say, as the children like to say out there in the real world, was tweeting through it. That was not fun anymore. Then it started becoming embarrassing. Then he started talking about how, look, and I feel for him with the events that happened to his mother a year ago. Don't get me wrong, and glad to hear that that she's on the mend and things are better. But he equated that, and then at the same time WWE is trying to poach my talent. I'm like, oh, come on, man. You don't need to go that far, right? I understand that this was personal for him. Don't get me wrong, but there's things you don't have to put out into the world. Twitter is not a goddamn diary, people. And I'm not just saying this to Tony Khan, who's absolutely not listening right now. But then again, I learned a couple of weeks ago, to not trust not trust that nobody listens to me. I'll put it that way. Twitter's not a diary. It's out there for the world to absorb. And then what was the thing is like he tweeted a thing. What was it? Look at me, well prepared. Great notes, Warren, for the show tonight. Oh yeah, he tweeted a thing where he was saying that this was the first time that The Undertaker and John Cena not tweeted, but drew sub 1 million viewers in, I don't know, like 12 years or 15 or what the fuck. And I'm like, brother, this is embarrassing. Stop. You still lost. I mean, what you're saying is that even at their worst, they're still outdrawing you. It's not the own you think it is. But look, this is what we've learned about Tony Khan. Just like we've learned things about Vince McMahon over the 70 million decades he's been involved in pro wrestling. We've learned a lot about Vince. We've learned about his behavior patterns and whatnot. It's the same thing with Tony now. Tony's going to be in this limelight. He's going to make decisions. He's going to do things that are going to be reflective of his character moving forward. And I think what we can say positively here is that his war with WWE exists in his mind. It is absolutely true and there. And because the level with which this defeat got to him is clearly indicative that he takes this very, very seriously. I don't dare say personally because I don't know the guy, but it does feel like there's a level of personal investment into this, if that makes sense. And it just got embarrassing. And from what I understand, there were some wrestlers kind of wish that someone took his phone away, if you see what I'm talking about. One of the absolute funniest things that I saw during this entire period, people sharing this in Discords and group chats and whatnot. The funniest thing I saw here was Tony Khan being told to get offline by people who are always online. That was a delicious little bit of irony there. I'm like, you got no advice to give. You cannot tell someone to turn their phone off, go online when you are literally online all the time. Not lots, but there were some notable situations where I was like, what are we doing here? So anyway, lessons learned from this one. There are a few. I think this still shows that, WWE right now, even though there's a lot of people who feel like it's cooling off a little bit, I think it's still very popular. It still feels hot. It has in its back pocket something that AEW will not have for a while, at the very least, and that is top level superstars that they can call in that will have a dramatic effect on ratings and viewership. Like true to form superstars, legends, Hall of Famers, whatever you want to call them. People that they could, in case of emergency, break glass. And there you go. Kind of like Vince used to do with The Undertaker, right? Just over the past couple of years when he was still clearly in charge. Ratings start to slip. Next week, The Undertaker. Monday Night Football starting. Let's bring in The Undertaker. All that stuff. You know the tactics. That's how we operated. That's how we always operated. So this is the lesson learned here. This is an observation that anyone with a brain has to come to the conclusion on. And WWE, they just did this to trample all over AEW because they really didn't need to stack it as much, but they did. They just wanted to trample all over them. This was a flex. And they flexed. Holy shit. Would I have done differently? Hell no. What are we talking about? Would I have done differently? God, no. It's not an indictment. Anyway. Good talk, everyone. But I can't wait for them to go head to head again. I love that kind of stuff. I cannot get enough of that stuff. I think it's tremendous. I think it's fun. It makes wrestling fun. I'm sorry, it really does. All right, so we got some news from Justin Barrasso over at Sports Illustrated. That was difficult. Justin Barrasso over at Sports Illustrated came to us with some news regarding Vince McMahon's position right now within the company, within TKO, and his involvement in WWE and how his roles have now changed. I'm going to read word for word what Justin Barrasso wrote here. Vince McMahon, who is synonymous with all things WWE, is no longer directly involved in dictating the weekly creative in the same manner he once did. McMahon remained the title of executive chairman in WWE, but he no longer possesses majority control of the company. That has allowed for change in the new regime, particularly in the creative department. Multiple contacts within the WWE and UFC have confirmed that Ari Emanuel, who wields power as the Endeavor CEO, is behind the change. Emanuel has long been a firm believer that in order for an organization to be as effective as possible, people need to do the job they are assigned. In this case, that approach has empowered Levesque to exert his full influence in the company's creative sphere. This news was corroborated by a bunch of people, like from Fightful and PW Insider. They all said pretty much the same thing, that Vince is no longer in control of creative. Now, I could not but do one of these and go, wait a second, and sort of tap, the tip of my chin here. Wait a second. Wasn't I told that Vince was already out of creative? I was told that Vince had no more influence in creative. I was told this multiple times, and in certain instances, quite vehemently, that this was all a pipe dream. This was invented in my head. And Vince was never, he didn't have his fingers in creative. He was only back in WWE to pilot the sale. Isn't that interesting? And yet, we're getting reports just this week, a couple of days ago, that Vince McMahon is, in fact, no longer involved in creative anymore. Does this imply that he did have a hand in creative beforehand? I think that's what this implies. I think this is exactly what this implies. Does this mean that a lot of people owe me a goddamn apology? Yes. Yes, they do. Does that mean that I want these apologies? No, that's a whole other matter. Probably not. I don't give a shit. Oh, but once again, your boy, he guides you down the right path. Once again, patting myself on the back here, because I was quite possibly, I should say, in the right once again. Once again. When are people going to start listening to me? And people argue, it's like, no. And I tell them, it's like, look, if you look at the pattern, you look at this, and no, it can't be that, no, this. And then once again, I'm proven to be right. I don't know what to tell her. There's going to be some point. People are going to start listening to me. Anyway. So this was all very interesting. And then Dave in the Observer. No, oddly enough, the Gable and Otis stuff. No, it was not. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Not necessarily Triple H. Isn't that interesting? Dave in the Observer this week added this little tidbit to the soup. I love soup. I love making soup. And this is one of the reasons I love fall so much. It's so good making soup. And then you get all the vegetables, farm fresh, soup. Anyway. Dave Meltzer in The Observer. Regarding the creative process, this is a quote. Regarding the creative process, right now, Paul Levesque is the person in charge. He's the one making all the key decisions. Bruce Pritchard is a conduit between creative, talent relations, and talent services. Ed Koski is the operations person who keeps the scripts flowing. At the moment, Vince McMahon is out of the creative process, but it was stressed to me the term, quote unquote, at the moment. McMahon is still the person in charge of still the person in charge of the company with the most power, but Levesque is running creative and Nick Khan is making the business moves. So, hey, Nick Nutter, nice to see you and welcome. So this is very interesting. Everyone's sort of coming around and saying, oh, no, Vince is absolutely not in creative anymore. Forgetting like all these past months where people were convinced that he still wasn't, but now it's like, no, this is a firm. I don't know. Is this a firm no, or is it, well, look, whatever. It doesn't matter. The idea is that this all implies that Vince was still in charge of creative. Now no longer is, and it's Ari Emanuel who brought the hammer down here. Now, I keep hearing that there is, there's a lot of changes in creative that are happening in WWE that might be indicative of Trips truly being in charge as opposed to Vince. I've been watching all of their PLEs since time immemorial. I haven't missed, outside of the Saudi shows. Of course, we don't cover the Saudi Arabian stuff here, but outside of the Saudi shows, I've watched everything, and it's not a perfect show. And, Triple H is not saving WWE and making it into this tremendous, great wrestling promotion. It's what it is overall. Fastlane, I reviewed it here. I thought it was a nothing show, and there's nothing to it. I didn't think it was particularly good. I don't know. Maybe maybe if you watch it on the week-to-week basis, you're able to point out things. But look, I mean, this week, on Monday Night Raw, the Judgment Day won back their tag team titles from Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes that they lost at Fastlane. Again, is this a sign? Is this a Triple H direction where he's like, we should have never done this? Here, let's put the titles back on these guys. Or is this just part of the story? Or are Cody and Jey being punished for their behavior at the press conference, after Fastlane? You know what I'm talking about. Anywho. It's all interesting. And Ari Emanuel seems to be putting his foot down here. I still have, personally, I still think that Vince is, I still have trouble thinking that Vince is going to be completely out of the picture. I still have difficulty believing that. I can't get behind that 100%. I think the only way he completely gets out of the picture is the day he sheds this mortal coil. Until then, and look, I've started watching Succession. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you something. Let me talk to you. Yeah. But, it's all interesting here. It's all interesting here, regardless. And all these little things point to me, and I'm like, okay, clearly Vince was still very much in charge, and now we're just confirming that he's really, really not in charge. Hey, that guy Shrek, 44. Nice to see you. Welcome. Stick around. I'm going to talk about Royal Quest in a little bit. You can have it on the docket just right here. See it? It's right there. And it's interesting that it's all coming from Ari Emanuel, right? Because Vince has never had a boss, right? Vince has never had an employer tell him what to do. So I'm very interested to see how he's going to react to this. Emanuel has named Vince as one of the reasons TKO stock has been falling, right? On September 20, TKO Group holding stock was valued at over $100, like at $105.71 per share. When the stock closed on September 21st, the very next day, the day the TV rights deal for SmackDown was announced, the stock was down to $96.16 per share. And as of this chatting, when I put my notes down, it's like, as of this writing, but as of me chatting, the stock is about $80 per share. So what are we doing? First of all. Second of all, Ari Emanuel not blamed Vince, but he put some of the blame on Vince. Because he spoke to Bloomberg on October 12th, and he gave a couple of reasons, okay, as to why the TKO stock took a hit here. This is what he said. For the first being, the money the SmackDown TV deal drew, right? 40% raise. I think people were expecting a lot more. And that's one of the things that maybe shook investors a little bit. The second problem he pointed out was the investment by the Saudi Arabian SRJ Sports Investments outfit that invested $100 million into the Professional Fighters League, the PFL, which is an MMA organization, an MMA outfit, competitor to UFC, basically, that ensures essentially that mixed martial arts events are going to take place in Saudi Arabia with or without UFC kind of thing. So again, Emanuel says that might have been a little something here. And the third reason being Vince himself. Oh, Vince McMahon. Now, what I find absolutely fascinating here, right, is that you'll remember, especially if you were listening to the podcast when we were covering this on a week-to-week basis, when all this news was just like coming out and just pouring out. Thank you. See, the stock right now is at 79.87. That was around 80, right? That's fantastic. So we're getting pinned. Thank you, chat, for keeping us up to date here, abreast of the of all the high finance news in the world of combat sports. What was I saying? Shit. Oh yeah. So when we were covering this on a week-to-week basis, you'll remember when we were. There was a lot of speculation around. Not speculation, but Ari Emanuel, when the deal finally went through. That's what I'm trying to get at. The deal finally went through. He said, the Vince could not happen. The deal could not happen without Vince. I wanted Vince with us. I want us here. I wanted him here with me to broker this deal. Like, I could not imagine I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something around the lines that I couldn't imagine this happening without Vince, right? And the first minute he gets, he throws him under the bus. Now, he invoked, look, and I'll be honest, I'm not privy on all the, the very specific terminology and whatnot, but there's apparently like there's some kind of clause inside of Vince's deal with the stock that he can sell his shares at any given time. Like there's, of course Vince has, he always tries to finagle these protections for himself or whatnot, whatever you want to call them. So there's people that are reading this into the idea that, well, why does Vince need a bailout? Why does he have like not a bailout, but an eject button where he can sell his stock like on a dime? What does that mean? Why do we as investors feel secure about this? You bringing this guy in, if you're bringing this guy in who has this clause in his dealings that allows him to sell all his stock and get the hell out of Dodge. How is that supposed to make us feel secure about us investing into your company, kind of thing? But you can also, add to that, the abuse allegations and so on and so forth, the NDAs and et cetera, the baggage that comes very naturally with a Vincent Kennedy McMahon. It's very interesting. Emmanuel, the first opportunity he gets, he throws him under the bus. So I, again, I've started watching Succession. So I'm wondering, how should we get into, hey, thanks for the subscription, that guy, Shrek44, appreciate it. Kind of you. Cheers. Welcome. Why couldn't, so I'm thinking, like, what happened behind the scenes? What happened between Ari and Vince for this to have soured so quickly? Because sometimes it could be just like personal stuff. It could be just like some, Vince did something, said something to piss Ari Emanuel off, and now this is Ari's way of getting back at him, just, putting him through the ringer publicly. Maybe, Vince needs a little humbling. It's hard to imagine Vince McMahon being humbled by anyone in the public sphere because Vince is so precious about his public persona, his PR relations. He's so precious and careful about them. Hasn't always been the case, but now he is. You got to think that this pissed Vince off as well. So listen, this is where we're at right now. Like it's very interesting. Already are we seeing some cracks? Anyway, look, it's very interesting to see how this is going. By the way, They said Ari in his talk with Bloomberg also said that there were 6 potential buyers for Raw, right? And we can assume that it's Raw and NXT. 6 potential buyers. A lot of people are expecting them to get the. Here's what a lot of people are expecting right now. This is the scuttlebutt. This is the analysis. This is what I also think makes sense. Everyone is waiting. The Raw deal will probably not be finalized until the NBA TV deals are done, because that's where the money is right now. That's probably what they're doing. That's probably what's going to happen. So Ari said there's 6 buyers for Raw right now. We'll see how that goes. But what's going to happen to the NBA? I think there's a lot of people who are waiting for that. And then we're going to move on to WWE. That's probably when we're going to find some type of resolution. I'm still surprised. We're in October and this has not been finalized yet. I'm still shocked. Because there's so much to do to whichever network just to go sell some ad space for next year. Like something's gotta happen here. And Ari also reiterated that he's ready to move nights. Like, you want us on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, what the fuck? It doesn't matter. You know, he out the gate is like, it doesn't have to be a Monday. And if I'm Ari Emanuel, right, and the share stock dropped 26 points from September 20th, which is barely a month ago. And I have one of my shows that I'm trying to sell. And it's on a Monday night, and it's been traditionally on a Monday night. If Monday nights for a large portion of the year gets completely hammered by the NFL, which is the sports juggernaut, not just the sports juggernaut, the television juggernaut. And I want my money. I want return on investment. His responsibility to the shareholders and whatnot. He wants the money to come in. He wants return on investment on this merger between WWE and UFC. He wants to see money on this ASAP. If someone is ready to buy Raw at a bit of a higher price, and they're like, well, we could do it on Tuesdays. Oh, that's fine. Let's do it. Hey, we could do it on Wednesdays. Oh, yeah, let's fucking go. Because maybe there's a lot of people who are like, look, we don't want to buy a property, and we don't want to license a property for Monday nights against the NFL, where you just get slaughtered every week for the price that you're charging. It's not worth it's not worth it. You know what I mean? That could be a position. Of course, there's streamers, there's streaming services involved here. Ari even mentioned, like in 2026, he said specifically in 2026, the Peacock deal comes out. We'll be open to discuss that as well. It's like, he wants his money back. He wants a return on investment as soon as possible, which is why, once again, I am telling you, I would not be surprised, and mark my words, I'm not saying it will happen, but I will not be surprised in the slightest if WrestleMania 40 is available only on pay-per-view. Through TKO, WWE now has access to, ESPN Plus and stuff like that. The deals that they have, whatever, with UFC. I would not be surprised in the slightest that WrestleMania 40 is not available live on Peacock, but you have to pay you have to cough up a little extra cash here. You got to go up the $50, $60 route here. Don't believe for a second that WWE isn't seeing the good business that AEW is doing on pay-per-view, and they're like, man, why can't we get a piece of that pie? Because WWE doesn't want money, it wants all the money. And so does Endeavor. And the Endeavor stockholders, their investors, they want the money as well. So that would be a really good way. Again, we have to emphasize this. We can't emphasize this enough, right? The $9.99 WWE Network, pay a monthly fee and then just enjoy the buffet at ad nauseum. That's done. We're finished with that model. It's not. Everyone is pivoting away from that in sports. AEW is not in that. Even if they do end up on Max or whatever, you're still going to pay for the big shows. WWE is going to try to revert to that. Might not do it with all the shows. Might not do it with all 12 pay-per-views. But I firmly believe that the big four are going to be pay-per-view only shows. WrestleMania, absolutely, at the very bottom barrel odds, I should say. WrestleMania is going to become pay-per-view. I think it's inevitable. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And if it's not 40, it'll probably be 41. It's in the next couple of years. Because again, Endeavor's the boss now. They want their money back. WWE is going to have to create new revenue streams. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, there's so much good professional wrestling these days. There's so much good stuff and lots of great stuff to watch. And I was wondering, are you guys excited to see Mystico and Rocky Romero on Rampage of all fucking places? Like that's crazy to me. And the background here is really simple. Is that Mystico right now is he is an unqualified. No, that's not the right word. He is a bona fide. Why did I think unqualified? A bona fide draw right now in Mexico in CMLL. Like, you want to talk about someone who brings in the casuals, he's the guy. An absolute superstar. And yes, if you look at Mystico, you're like, wait, I know this guy. That's, I've seen him before. That's, the original Sin Cara in the disaster run in WWE. He was a superstar in the mid 2000s in Mexico, and he's a superstar still today. And this is one of his most important matches that he's had. He's never really wanted to wrestle in North America. Not in North America, because Mexico is part of North America, you dummy. I was meaning the United States, because of how the US, how well his last run went. And he's been tremendous. He has been absolutely tremendous in CMLL over the past couple of years. And the fact that he is having a title match against Rocky Romero, who is one of the top rudos in CMLL right now, on American television, on fucking Rampage. It's insane. And here's the one thing, I'm going on a sidebar here, so I didn't really prepare, but from the moment, this is taking place in Houston, right? In Texas, right? In an area that has a good proportion of Lucha Libre fans. There's a good audience for Lucha Libre in that part of the country. From the moment that they announced that Mystico was going to be at basically on Dynamite on Wednesday, right? Because they're taping Rampage after, they sold an extra 1,000 tickets to the show. They moved just announcing Mystico on the show. A show in the United States, mind you, shot up, had an extra 1,000 tickets move. This guy is absolutely a draw. So it's tremendous, and we're going to get a tremendous match. And then on top of that, if you watch CMLL, well, he's going to have, he's going to have, he's going to be on TV on Friday. He's going to be on the CMLL stream on Friday, and then you can see him on Rampage. It's Mystico Friday this upcoming Friday here. So it's amazing. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a good time. And there's all sorts of extra stuff on top of that. So much extra stuff. But yes, we're going to talk about New Japan Royal Quest III now. New Japan Royal Quest III that occurred just a couple of days ago. October 14, 2023 in the Copper Box Arena in London, England. A show that overall I thought was okay, but it was topped off with two tremendous, like absolutely tremendous matches to cap it all off. It's a show that, I often like, I often like to say, I recommend, highly recommend. It's a show that I can't outright recommend from top to bottom, because I think there have been, not only do I think, I know there have been better New Japan shows this year. There have been, but there absolutely have been better New Japan shows this year. But the two shows that wrapped up the main events, I should say, they're not even co-main events. There was a proper main event. I'm trying to stammer through this because the two final matches, there we go. How about that? The two final matches, tremendous stuff. Unquestionable, top to bottom. But the rest was what it was, and solid working. Look, if this was a collision show, I tell you this was skippable. No, but for real, like there's a lot of stuff here that I'm like, all right, okay. We can go from we can break from tradition if you want, and start with the main event going down, because I think like that's really the crux of the thing here. The main event had Will Ospreay defeating Zack Sabre Jr. to retain the IWGP United States /UK heavyweight title. Godfather, so nice to see you, and welcome. I absolutely and yes, I do. By the way, I really, really do. And King of the North, nice to see you as well. Just in time for the New Japan talk. You'll be very happy about that. Member of the MrWarrenHayes show on top of that. Listen, I absolutely adored this match. Like you could not have designed a main event that was more suited for Warren Hayes than this. No, actually you could. You really could. But this was tremendous. Brilliant. You know what? I'm running a poll right now on all because of the collision stuff, right? Because of my previous collision review, right? I feel like I'm wondering if I should start giving out star ratings for matches, right? Because I don't know how much you care about my reviews. I don't know if that matters. I like to tell you guys this was tremendous. This was excellent. One of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen. I like adding qualifiers to it as opposed to, just slapping old star ratings on it. But sometimes a star rating can be very evocative as well. For instance, and by the way, if you want to chime in on the poll, it's running on the community tab here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. I'd love to hear your input. But if I were to slap a star rating on this one, I'd just give it the good old flat 5 stars. I just thought this was a beautiful blend of styles from two guys who've, come up in the business around the same time, different styles, different paths, very different wrestlers, but end up being tremendous performers nonetheless, end up in their own ways. They're not, they don't mirror each other in any way. They're just reflections. They're just reflections of pro wrestling. They're just different reflections of pro wrestling. So good. They evolved into very different wrestlers, but just tremendous in-ring storytellers, athletic performers. And we're getting the best off of Zack Sabre Jr. in this match, right? I mean, this is not their first match. They've always had chemistry together. But this is rising. This has been rising for such a long time. These two guys here, Zach and Will, who are positioning themselves as all-timers at this point. I think Will Ospreay, if 2022 didn't do it for you, 2023 is absolutely the thing. Like, this is his career year. This is as good as 2022 was for Ospreay. 2023 is insane. 2023 goes above and beyond, and you sort of wonder how he can pull it off. And that's what makes him so spectacular. Greatest wrestler in the world right now. One of the all-time greats to ever do it. We're going to sit around and bitch about flippy shit and all of that. Well, in the meantime, we have legitimately one of the greatest wrestlers of all time doing what he does best live for us right now. And a lot of us have difficulty taking the time to appreciate it. And in the meantime, Zack Sabre Jr., I think he's having his career year right now. And I don't even think this is his ceiling. I think he still has more to go. He still has more to give. His reign this year has been out as New Japan World Television Champion, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't remember what the title's called. You know what I mean? He was given this title, a title which we had been told. Look at how the discourse went. And this is entirely on Junior, okay? This is entirely on him. Bushiroad announced the title, and they said we're going to have a tournament, and this is going to be a title that we're going to put on a young guy, right? This is going to be a title that we're going to slap on up and comer, so on and so forth. So of course they do the tournament and they give it to 36-year-old Zack Sabre Jr., right? There you go. There's your young guy right there. And that was the discourse, and people were going, oh, poo-poo. But Zach has made this title. Like, he has worked with the 15 minute the 15-minute time limit with great drama at some points. He's worked it into his matches. The people he's worked with have all been spectacular. Just great little nuggets of wrestling, never overstaying its welcome because it's 15 minutes. So you get some great stuff every single time, every match available for fucking free. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on New Japan World. You can watch it on, I don't know why you'd watch it on Twitter. Twitter's miserable. Don't watch it on Twitter, but you could. This is true. Like, this is, so he shifted the discourse from, old guy, he's not a young guy, why didn't he give this to Ren Narita, so on and so forth, to just making this title. Like, he is creating such a tremendous baseline of expectations for this title moving forward. And he has had, look, as much as we, and me first, as much as we have praised Orange Cassidy for his all-timer run with the international title this year, well, since last December, if I'm not mistaken, November, December. As much as we've praised him for that, same thing with Zach. Zach's been going around wrestling every week, all sorts of people all across the world. He's been tremendous. So we get two guys who are in peak form, like at the top of their games. Two guys who know each other. Like I said, they've broken into the business together. They worked in the same places all the way to Japan, and they've both elevated themselves in their own particular style, right? So when this was announced, of course you go like, well, we've seen this match before. Yeah, but not like this. Not on this level. Not in a main event. Not when these guys are in complete possession of all of this power. This is what made it special. And we're getting the best out of Zach here, like I said, in sequences where Will is keeping up with him too. Just tremendous stuff. Again, Will Ospreay can fucking do anything. But then Ospreay starts landing his big offense. Oh boy, and does he ever sky twisters, leap of faith? Meanwhile, Zack Sabre Jr. working an arm, lands a Tiger Driver. And he interrupts. God, I love this. He interrupts an Oz Cutter in the air into a flying armbar. Just ruled. And it's the kind of thing that you expect out of Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. kicks out of the Stormbreaker. We get another flying armbar, and this time off the top rope. Just phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. They have this fantastic sequence where Ospreay ends up going where Will Ospreay ends up going getting knocked out. Look, we get a Zack Driver. Will Ospreay kicks out. We get a super Oz Cutter and Octopus by Zack Sabre Jr., which reverses where Will Ospreay reverses it into a backpack pile driver, and eventually comes to an end with a hidden blade and a Stormbreaker. Finally, like, you can make an argument right straight off the bat. Okay, you can absolutely make an argument. You know, you're okay in the year 2023. You're wrestling Will Ospreay. You're getting a good match. You're going to be in a great match, right? Will Ospreay can wrestle anyone. Get a great match out of them. That's just it's a law of physics at this point. It's undeniable. So what happens? So, you know, how much, I'm trying to say too many things at once, which is part of my brand. How much credit do you give Will Ospreay's opponent then? Right? Because there's proof in the pudding, and I'm not going to start going through a litany of names, but over the past year, through the G1 and so on and so forth, where Will Ospreay has had encounters with people, other wrestlers, where he just dug deep and brought stuff out of that person. We're like, okay, this is absolutely fantastic. But then that person, his opponent, is unable to reproduce that type of magic with anyone else. So there's always, I believe, in a Will Ospreay match, a percentage of how great it is that exclusively comes from Will. However, when it comes to this match here, I think it is difficult. If there is that percentage, it is a very slim piece of the pie, because Zach is too fucking good at this stage of his career. He is too much on top of things, too in control, understanding everything he needs to do to not be that good. And this is why I slapped the 5 on it, because I don't feel this was, for lack of a better term, a carry job. It's not even close to being a carry job, right? But the percentage of, oh, this is due to Will Ospreay being great, is much more minimal here. And I think it's a question of Will dragging the best out of Will, who was more than happy to reciprocate. That's the thing. So Will Ospreay continues having a career year. And again, 2022 for Will Ospreay was already, you know, batshit insane. And somehow we're topping it all this year. Somehow he's managing to to drag out an even better year than he had last year. He's in higher profile matches with tremendous opponents. He's all over the place. He's sought after. It's just insane. Chat's having a good chat about Will Ospreay and with reason with Zach as well. And Zach, here's the thing, right? This is one thing. Zack Sabre Jr., his one of the reasons he's so good is because he's been able to make the British style of pro wrestling, right? Catch style, whatever you want to call it. He was able to make it fun. He was able to make it interesting and palatable. There are years where Zack Sabre Jr. is just like tying guys into knots, and you're like, okay, I mean, this is for someone, and it's not for me. But he's done this in two very distinct ways, but very crucial ways to one another. Of course, the first way just being a masterful technician, perfecting his craft, giving himself entirely to what he does. And he has the natural ability to be a tremendous pro wrestler. So that's one thing. But the second part is his persona, his character, if you will. Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't work as well in the ring if he's not Zack Sabre Jr., if that makes sense. You know, the cockiness, the arrogance, the little smirks, the looks, you know, that unpalpable that palpable swagger that he has. I mean, look here. Timothy Thatcher is a grapple guy, and he'll twist you into knots. I don't see anyone staying up till 4 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast to watch Timothy Thatcher matches. No disrespect. Timothy Thatcher is fantastic at what he does. But that's exactly what I mean about Zack. Zack was able to elevate a style of wrestling that, for all intents and purposes, is boring. But he's able to elevate it into something dramatic. And I wonder, as the years move on, will he ever get credit for that? Like, really get credit for that, because he's going to inspire a bunch of kids to do that. And he's already inspiring a bunch of kids to do that. But to be as good as Zack means you have more than just the knowledge and the comprehension and the smoothness to transition from move to move and hold to hold and how to bend the body backwards and so on and so forth. You need that element. You need that spark, that persona that he has. Not a lot of people do. Just a tremendous match. Excellent match. 5 stars for me. Cage Match right now has it at 944. With 155 votes. Let's see here. Just out of curiosity, I want to see how high this ranks here. 0.45. Yeah, okay. We're in the realm of Nakajima versus Miyahara from earlier this year, from July. Shuri versus Utami Hayashishita from Stardom 2 years ago. Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat. Yeah, that's good company. That makes sense to me. I think that's all good. I think that all matches. That checks out. See, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada from 2012. Which one was this? No, it's a Dominion match. It's not the Wrestle Kingdom leg match. So there you go. I mean, I think all of this makes sense. Then the other tremendous match that we had on the card was Shingo Takagi defeating Tomohiro Ishii. And I mean, listen, this is the kind of match that's announced and you perk up, right? You go like, okay, this is exactly what I like in pro wrestling. Two guys who seem to forget that pro wrestling's a work. And this is what you get. You get another tremendous match out of these two. Just exactly what you thought it would be. And listen, okay. Do you want me to get pedantic here for a second? Do you want me to get asinine here for a second? Here we go. They've had better. They've had better. And which is nuts because this was great. No, it's not a quibble. I'm not quibbling here. I'm being pedantic. They've had better matches. And tremendous G1 matches. 2019. I remember completely jumping out of my seat on that one. In 2021, I believe, too. And I mean all time great G1 great G1 matches, great pro wrestling matches. Now, I'm saying this in the context of this match, which was tremendous as well. A match where I was convinced was finishing, but then it's no, we're not done yet. I thought I saw the finish come, and then they went in. I thought they were in the final stretch, but then they led me into the final stretch. I was like, Jesus Christ. This was exactly what you thought it would be. Just two of them beating the tar out of each other, dropping each other on their heads. Don't allow me saying they've had better to minimize how great a match this was. This was an absolute barn burner and something that the show desperately needed. It fucking needed a match like this to light everything up. This true final, the real final third of this match here. They're just demolishing each other, kicking out of big moves at one. Crowd is up on their feet. Shingo finally gets the best of Ishii with Last of the Dragon. But you look at this, and it's you're in for you don't expect the kind of ride that you're in for. This was tremendous stuff. Great stuff. What are we doing with Shingo? Yeah, longtime listeners will know that this is a Shingo Takagi appreciation podcast. We love us the dragon here. The last dragon. There's a lot of dragons. There's an American dragon. There's the dragon. There's the last dragon. There's, black dragon, copper dragon, red dragon, silver dragon. Remember silver dragon, blue eyes, white dragon. There's all sorts of dragon. But this was tremendous stuff. And okay, but back to the point of Shingo. What are we doing with Shingo? I want to know what we're doing with Shingo Takagi. I need to know what we're doing with Shingo Takagi because I don't understand how this guy is going into another Wrestle Kingdom with nothing substantial to sink his teeth into. It baffles my mind. He's legitimately one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. And it goes to show just how crazy the caliber of world-class international talent is out there when Shingo barely blips on some people's radar. He's one of the best on the planet. Look, earlier this year, he made the King of Pro Wrestling Championship something to look forward to. His matches with Aaron Henare were cool. His matches with Tai Chi were cool. I mean, it's a belt that is officially below him. And his matches with ELP too were a lot of fun. He's a guy, he's versatile, and he delivers every time, and he's a crowd pleaser. What are we waiting for in this circumstance? Is it a Dragon Gate thing? Is it because it didn't come through the system? Because he's not a New Japan guy? Is this the thing? Because with the youth movement taking over New Japan right now, Shingo's one of the guys who can absolutely eat shit moving forward. He's a guy who can quite easily find himself, at the bottom of the pile. Maybe not the bottom, but definitely not at the top. Because look, now he's being set up for a never title shot with Tama Tonga at Fighting Spirit Unleashed. And he's probably going to put Tama over, which is fine. But is this, where are we at the Tama Tonga is going to happen count now? Is it third time, fourth time? Like at some point, and I say this with nothing but love and appreciation because I really like the Tama Tonga babyface run. I really do. And I think the Japanese crowd connects with it. I think they're into it. What are we doing? What are we doing with Shingo? I don't know. I don't know what there is left for Shingo if it's not a world title run. Because this is going to be a guy that very soon, very quickly, he's going to be one of those that's going to be like, listen, I've done everything I could here. And then what's the next step? What is the next step for Shingo Takagi? It's not that he doesn't have options. It's just where does he go? And there's a couple of frightening options out there too. Not everything is roses. I don't know. I often, Shingo is too consistent, too good, too consistent, too good to not have a substantial program. That makes sense. But listen, tremendous match. And of course, look, Tomohiro Ishii, when is this guy ever going to slow down? I don't know when this guy's going to, I always, not always, but I often look, I'm like, what are the signs? And then suddenly you think, Ishii, he's kind of, but next thing you know, no, he's not kind of, he's going hard. He's still wrestling like he's fucking 25. It's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, put the world title on Ishii. We're past that discussion. That's not what I'm saying. But listen, these are two fantastic matches. The rest of the card, She opened up with Robbie X versus Taiji Ishimori. Actually, Taiji Ishimori defeated him. Had some moments, particularly the Robbie X comebacks, which I think was had some speed and some smooth high flying moves on top of that. But Ishimori wins with a UFO, a move aped off of his former Bullet Club partner, El Fantasma, and a bloody cross. Ishimori didn't bump. I don't think so. If he bumped it, we're very minimal. And look, the guy's he's back from injury. He's in the curtain jerker. Can't say he's not playing smart here. It was a very light match for our boy Ishimori, who came out in Bullet Club regalia, when he returned to attack Hiromu at Destruction in Ryogoku. He came out with, he wasn't wearing a single trace of Bullet Club gear. So I had posited, maybe the Bone Soldier Reborn is done with Bullet Club, which I think would be a good idea. Just have him do anything else. But no, apparently we're still doing Bullet Club. El Desperado defeated Trent Seven. Trent Seven cracks a chair across Despy's head. He's in control on the floor. He tears at the mask, which pisses off El Fantasmo. Starts no-selling. Comeback spot with a brainbuster. Spinning pile driver by Trent Seven. There's a ref bump. Trent Seven crotches El Desperado. Lands an Emerald Flosion. But ELP gets the win with a El Fantasmo. It's not El Desperado, ELD. El Desperado gets the win with a surprise mouse trap. All right. It's okay. It's fine. Here's a match I was looking forward to. Yota Tsuji defeating Luke Jacobs. Luke Jacobs had a tremendous, and I mean capital T tremendous match at the Rev Pro anniversary show during Wembley weekend in August against Tomohiro Ishii. Like when they talk about star-making performances, this is what that was. You paid attention, you're connected to this stuff. You at least want to know what's going around internationally. And you hear about this match, Luke Jacobs versus Tomohiro Ishii, and you take a look at it and you're like, Jesus Christ, this kid is amazing. So I came in. Hey, Will Davis, member of the MrWarrenHayes Show. Nice to see you and welcome. So I saw this. I got excited. Like, are you kidding me? Huge Tsuj and Jacobs? This is going to rule. And you know what? We got a very good match. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like it under-delivered. Again, a good match. Very good match. But Tsuji is such a complete guy. And Jacobs is he's a hard nose. He's just a guy who wants to slap people around. Like, I felt like these guys were going to have like tremendous magic with one another, and it just under-delivered to me. And so I leave the match giving it, look, if I were to slap a star rating on this, 3.5, which is a very above average match, a very good match, but it was missing something. And I mean, look, they land power moves on each other and it's great. And there's a tremendous arm shot also by Tsuji, which was fantastic. Senton Saito combo by Luke Jacobs and some strikes and a superplex. He lands the hypersonic lariat, but the Gene Blaster gets the win. I mean, I don't know. I think I was expecting something hotter. Something a little more dynamic. It's all right, I'll live. Then we had Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney of the Bullet Club, of course, defeating Cameron Kai and Leon Slater. Leon Slater is another guy I hear a lot about when it comes to British wrestling and Rev Pro. Keep hearing how great of a prospect he is. I thought this was a good match, but again, nothing that blew my mind. I thought, the British guys looked particularly good here. Leon Slater got the hot tag actually in this match. He takes out both Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney. Kai does the Locomotion Northern Lights. Pop-up spear by the War Dogs as well as a double team move was very cool. Power slam by Clark Connors. High-low by the Dogs on Kai. And then there's this tremendous flying Topi Con Hilo over the post by Slater. Just outstanding stuff. But Clark Connors lands the No Chaser. Drilla Killer by Maloney. And then they do their finisher to wrap it all up. Yeah, it's all right. Again, just a fine match. And we're like 1, 2, 3, 4 in at this point. I'm like, all right. Let's spruce this one up a little bit. Let's get this one. Get me excited for this one. I feel like you've whetted my taste enough. Then we had the Gorillas of Destiny team of Tama Tonga Tongaloa and El Fantasmo defeating the Bullet Club trio of Alex Coughlin, Gabe Kidd, and David Finlay, who took the pin. look, the match itself, before we get into the Finley business, it's basically a big old heat segment here. Where Tonga Loa plays Ricky Morton, and then we get the comeback spots, and El Phantasmo's fantastic. Like, I think he's tremendously smooth. I still think his association with Gorillas of Destiny is weird. I don't think it suits him. It's a little off-putting to me. Maybe there'll be some chemistry that'll grow, but right now it all feels contrived. But listen, like the story here is Dave Finlay, leader of Bullet Club, anointed one, guy who kicked Jay White to the curb, told him, no, I'm in charge now, and has been on a tear for the majority of 2023 as a favorable Gaijin what's the word I'm looking for? Gaijin top heel. There we go. I don't know why. And he's, he got the push. He got to lead Bullet Club and reimagine it in his own image. And here we are. He loses to Tama Tonga. He loses the title to Tama Tonga and Ryogoku. And we're here eating ape shit by Tonga Loa and getting covered. And this is leading to a Tonga Loa singles match versus him. Like, and look, I mentioned it in my preview to Ryogoku, where I was like, look, you got to do something with these guys, with either of these guys, because, as much as I really, really, really like Dave Finlay and how he's decided to make the Bullet Club leadership his own, and how I feel he's invested in it, he's having trouble delivering where it matters, that is in the ring, and getting a big time great match. Look, again, Dave Finlay is one of the guys, like we were talking about earlier, where he has a match with Will Ospreay, he has a great match, but can he replicate that with others? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen main event Dave Finlay yet, if that makes sense. I haven't seen the big one, the one that really helps him ascend. Is this what we're doing? Are we going down are we just going to do a little, sidebar angle where it's like, oh, Dave Finlay needs to quote unquote find himself. He's on a losing streak, which is fine too. Or are we switching gears on this, on him as leader of Bullet Club? It's interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of this. But to me, and eating pins from Tonga Loa and eating shit like that, and then heading back down the old dusty trail, slipping down the car, like it's a demotion. Does that make sense? It's kind of a demotion. I don't know. It kind of feels that way. What else we got on this card? Ren Narita and Shota Umino defeated the United Empire. Umino and Narita don't like each other, but they're tag teaming, and Akira's great. Look, I don't know. I got nothing for you on this match. I thought it was good. Umino gets the hot tag after an extended heat period where Narita ate a lot of shit. The young guys show some tag team continuity here as well. And Shota Umino picks up the win with the Death Rider on Francesco Akira. Good but forgettable match. That's all. Sanada and Doki took the loss here to the LIJ team of Tetsuya Naito and Bushi. Like, this felt like a Road 2 match. You know what I mean? This is how it felt. No, there's nothing here that happened. And Sanada's not the guy, and he's not even in the UK can he muster a reaction. Of course, you get Tetsuya Naito coming in on the other side. Everyone goes nuts. This Sanada shit is not working. It hasn't been working for a while, and we're getting more and more confirmation that it's not. And I got nothing for you. Take the belt off of Sanada ASAP. And we had Eddie Kingston, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Michael Oku defeating the United Empire team of Hinare, Jeff Cobb, and TJP. Oku did most of the work here, which is fine, you know, because I wrote it here again. Tana is not moving well early in the match, and this is the story of every Hiroshi Tanahashi match in 2023, and it's going to be. It's going to be more and more of that as we keep going on. It's like Tanahashi can't move. So he's not moving well in this match. Eddie came in, you know, played the hits, but here's another guy, played it smart. Didn't go around bumping, didn't go around throwing him, allowing himself to get thrown around. No, he knows he's got bigger fish to fry than a 6-man, fourth from the top. What are we doing? Third from the top. I don't know. Oku gets the win for his team with a surprise roll-up on TJP. I don't know. I thought Royal Quest II was an overall better show than this. Last year's, I thought it was a lot better than this. But, again, not a bad show. Like, nothing egregious, but stuff that's just happening that you're just going to forget. And I sort of spent the majority of this show going, when is something going to happen? When am I going to get, when are my armpits going to get sweaty? When am I going to be on the edge of my couch watching this? Please, 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 can we just do something? But listen, the last two matches delivered and then some. So, if you're on the fence about this show, let me make it very simple for you. Watch the two last matches. And if you're really strapped for time, make time for Ospreay versus Xavier Jr., which I think is must watch. Tremendous stuff. There you go. So what this does then is that this leads us into some updated matches for some cards coming up in New Japan Professional Wrestling, such as Fighting Spirit Unleashed, which is going to be on October 28th. We'll do a proper review in regards to this, but on this card here, we had Tama Tonga versus Shingo Takagi that was added to this card here, which again is going to be happening on October 28th. It's what they call the Vegas show at this point. Everyone's calling it the Vegas show. So that's what we're getting here. Lots of multi-person matches set up here. We get a strong open weight championship number one contender 4-way, which, of course, as you know, I think it stinks. However, Satoshi Kojima is involved in it, so that's going to rule. Fred Rosser is in there, Jeff Cobb, and Alex Coughlin. We're going to have Tom Lawler versus Gabe Kidd, which I am not going to sleep on. Julia is going to have her fifth defense of the IWGP, the Strong Open Women, the Strong Women's Championship, against Hyan. I'm looking forward to that. And Kingston versus Hinare for the Strong Openweight Championship. There's a lot of other matches here. On top of that, the 40th anniversary of Atlantis in an 8-man tag to celebrate his 40 years in the business. We're going to have Adrian Quest, Tiger Mask, Soberano Jr., and that devil Rocky Romero taking on the team of Atlantis, his son Atlantis Jr., Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Mystico. There you go. The arena's sold out. We're done. Instant sellout. Mystico the draw. Bringing in all the casuals. But we'll review this proper. And this show also had us update the Power Struggle card, which is coming in November for New Japan. Again, we will have a proper review, proper preview in the next couple of weeks. Because at the end of the Ospreay Zack Sabre Jr. match, Shota Umino came out to challenge Will Ospreay for the US/UK title. He said, bring both. Umino did. He said, bring both belts to Japan. Couple of announcements that were made here on the card. This is the updated Power Struggle card as it stands right now. Will Ospreay versus Shota Umino for the UK-US Championship, as we just mentioned. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, Hiromu Takahashi against Taiji Ishimori. I know a lot of people are bummed by this, but I really like Taiji Ishimori. This is going to be solid as hell. I don't know what the big problem is. Then the Never 6-man titles are also going to be on the line. Okada, Tanahashi, and Ishii once again defending against Zack Sabre Jr., Shane Haste, and Mikey Nichols. Jon Moxley is heading to Japan versus Great O'Khan. Interesting. We'll have Sanada and Yuya Uemura versus Tetsuya Naito and Yota Tsuji. Okie dokie. Dave Finlay versus Tonga Loa. What are we doing? And of course, the finals of Super Junior Tag League. Speaking of which, let's preview it. Let's preview Super Junior Tag League. After I write down this time code. Super Junior Tag League is starting this week, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat. I'm not really compelled by the Junior Tag League, which is weird because here's the thing that's weird. I find that the juniors in New Japan this year were the glue of the company. I really do. I think that the Best of Super Juniors tournament was one of the best that we've had in years. I thought it was a tremendous show with tremendous matches. Delivered without question. Hiromu doing the All-Star Junior festivals and all that. The juniors have been so fucking solid all year. And then we get to this, and I'm like, man, this is kind of a bummer. And this also off the heels of me being a tremendous Catch-22 fan. I love TJP and Francesco Akira. All I do here on this podcast is put them over. I think they're one of the best top 3 tag teams in the world today. For a tag team that was just thrown together, 2 singles guys, they're making this work out. It is tremendous stuff. But listen, Doki and Taka Michinoku couldn't give a shit. Taguchi and the DKC couldn't give a shit either. Now, when we start talking about Desperado and Master Wato, that's an odd couple pairing. Interested to see how that goes. Kushida and Kevin Knight. It can go either way. Like, I think Kevin Knight's great. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's still super green. Kushida, I don't know. Feels like he's super hit and miss. So, okay. Sho and Kanemaru. That's just going to be nonsense. It's going to be House of Torture nonsense. There's nothing to analyze here. Robbie Eagles and Fujita, there's a team I can get behind. Bushi and Titan rules. TJP and Francesco Akira, okay. So, like, there's matches in here. There's matches in this in here that I'm excited for, that I'm looking forward to. But I can't tell you that I'm going to sit here and watch every match and be super invested. I don't get it. I legitimately was expecting a CMLL team. I legitimately expected two guys from CMLL to hop on the plane and make the tournament. But apparently not. You know? Apparently that's not happening. So that's kind of disappointing. I understand. Look, it's the same philosophy with the Best of Super Juniors, right? Where they're just like keeping everything in-house. This is a rebuilding period for New Japan. So, you know, they're not as concerned in regards to they're not as concerned. They're not as concerned about, you know, putting other people over from other promotions, right? It's all about New Japan. And I get it. That's fine. Yeah, but see, we got Titan. But Titan is basically New Japan. Like, you know, that doesn't jive for, like, he's not a special guy coming in, you know? Yeah, like, exactly like Chad is saying. Soberano Jr. and Volador would have been, Volador, I think he's still fucked up from his Anniversario match. But, I mean, look. This is the feel we have. Oh, and I did purposefully forget to mention that Yo is in here as well, but not with Leo Rush. Leo Rush, you know, got the flu, he got sick. Just on the verge of his big triple threat match against Hiromu Takahashi and Mike Bailey. He wasn't able to make it, and people are like, "Oh, he'll probably be better, and he'll make it to Super Junior Tag League." Well, it turns out Yo announced his partner is going to be Musashi from Michinoku Pro, guy that not a lot of people know about, but he's going to be there. He's going to be Yo's partner. So that'll be interesting. But Leo Rush, and here's the thing. I want to support and be excited about Leo Rush in pro wrestling. I really do. And I think I've been a lot more lenient than a lot of people out there with his retirements and his antics, his woe is me attitude. I think that a lot of people, just tuned him out, where I was like, no, pro wrestling is in a better place with Leo Rush around. And he proved it this year, having some tremendous, one of my favorite junior matches this year, one of my favorite matches period this year, he had with Hiromu Tanahashi, there's a mashup for you, Hiromu Tanahashi, earlier this year. He's been tremendous. He's been on fire. And when he was going around saying, going to New Japan has reignited me, this is home, and I believe it, But then he gets sick, he can't make it, and then he posts this, what I think it's on his Instagram, on social media, like whatever, it's all. He says this, 2 weeks ago, I got really sick during a crucial time in my career, changing the path that I was on. I'm not entirely sure how to handle it, other than to come home with family while I process the changes that this event has caused. I don't know what's next, other than to heal, and hoping that this time away will help me do just that. I'll be releasing an album titled No Time to Heal on my birthday, November 11, that I hope will tell my story. So now I'm like, why are we doing this again, Leo? Leo, why are we doing this again? So what this says to me is exactly what I had predicted in my Ryogoku preview. I said, I think Leo Rush is winning the junior title. And I think he was pegged to do it. But he got sick, change of plans. And now he goes home and he's like, and now he's in introspective, oh no, my career mode again. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Yes, it was a tremendous opportunity. And it sucks that he was unable to make the date. It really does suck. But this is fucking pro wrestling. And it can happen again. It can happen in any given moment. I was looking forward to the Leo Rush Junior Heavyweight Championship run in Japan. I really was. But now he's like, he didn't outright say, oh, now I'm retiring. No, but now he's back again. Dude, I don't know what's next. Christ. Like, how many times are we going to, is Leo Rush going to stop himself? And don't get me wrong, I can only imagine how disappointing it is, how weighty this all is on his shoulders. But I can't believe we're in this sphere again. I don't want to say back to where we were, but in this sphere again where he's like, I don't know what's next, but I'm going to release an album that'll clear it all up. Release an album. What is this? Jesus, 2015? What the hell is this? What, are we going to start doing diss tracks now? What the fuck is this? And I like Leo. I like him so much. Pro wrestling is better off with Leo Rush wrestling in it. But man, like, it is exhausting wanting to support this guy. Again, I don't want to blow this off and say, oh, just this one thing happened. Like, it was probably him that was slated to win. It was a huge deal. And yeah, it would probably given him a whole different direction for his career. And if this is if he's working us, it's annoying. It's not a good work. I don't know, man. Look, Yo and Musashi are going to be a team in this. So, like, again, I'm not excited for the Junior Tag League. I'm not excited for it. I'm not looking forward to it. But I'll keep you posted. I'll watch some matches. Come back to you with some thoughts. But it's like I'm not going to sit down and watch this entire round robin. Like I'm not into it. Again, despite the fact that there are a lot of juniors that I like here, one of my favorite tag teams in the world is in this. I'm just not into it. And now to wrap things up today, we are going to preview Impact Bound for Glory 2023, the big one. That is happening this weekend, October 21st, from the Cicero Stadium in Cicero, Illinois. I'm gonna tell you, solid looking card. Solid looking card. Look, look here, don't get me wrong. This is an Impact show, okay? There's nonsense on this. There's stuff that you're gonna, that you just have to power through, It's like, going to get, toenail fungus removed. Am I speaking from experience? We don't know each other enough for me to share those kinds of details. But we're going to power through this show because, the great stuff, the good stuff here, the good stuff here has the potential to be great. We're going to have a Monsters Ball match on the show. PCO versus Rhino versus Steve Macklin versus Moose. PCO, of course, is he's done with Impact. He's hitting the bricks after this. I don't know if it's after this. He didn't renew, so I don't know how much time he has left. Look, honestly, I've been done with PCO for the better part of the year. I'm like, look, I've seen everything this guy has to offer. We're fine, and he keeps destroying his body. I'm fine. You know, the PCO gimmick for me has passed its expiration date. I don't want to see him necessarily anymore. That's fine. You know, his bloodbath with Steve Maclin earlier this year was a spectacle. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be one of the matches that I'm going to remember the most of this year. But, yeah, listen. I don't think he's winning this. Rhino returned at Impact 1000. He's coming after Maclin. He's got some unfinished business with Maclin. PCO has unfinished business with Maclin. And Moose has a world title shot. From the Feast or Famine, Feast or Fight, Fight or Feast, Feast or Fired, Fired the Feisty Fierce. I don't know. Do they still do the gimmick where they're locked in like for 24 hours without food, water, and you know, in the darkness? Are they still doing that gimmick for the Monsters Ball, or is it just like a good old fashioned DQ match? Like, I feel like they had one earlier this year in April, and I can't remember. Just to show you how memorable it was. I don't remember if they still do. I mean, Abyss isn't around anymore. Anyway, this will be one of those where I'm going to be like, oh, let's just get this over with. Then we have a Call Your Shot gauntlet, intergender, of course. 20 people in the ring. As it stands right now, you know, I'm pulling this up of the Wikipedia page. So, you know, maybe when you're listening to this, all of the entrants have been announced. But as it stands right now, we have Jake Something, Champagne Singh, Eric Young, Jordan Grace, Brian Myers, Shara, Kylan King, Jody Threat, and Bubba Ray Dudley. Bully Ray. Oh, and Dirty Dango, who is also here, who found himself a spot in this match thanks to some interference by Oleg Prudis. Now you may be saying, who the fuck is Oleg Prudis? You probably know him better as Vladimir Kozlov from the WWE. Apparently, Oleg Prudis, which is his real name, has been a commentator for Impact in Russian. And this apparently is, I am not putting you on here. And he's had on-screen appearances, but this is the first time he's like getting involved in an angle in a thing. I don't know what to think about this, to be very, very honest. Yeah, it's like, what is Vladimir Vloksov doing in the Impact Zone? Exactly, chat. So, I mean, this is going to be one where you just grit your teeth. There might be, like, probably once we get down to the last few people, it'll be interesting. But this is one of those where you just grit your teeth and you're like, hopefully it just doesn't suck. But Bully Ray's in it. Impact World Tag Team title match. The Rascals, Trey Miguel, Zachary Vince, are going to be taking on ABC, the Bullet Club team of Ace Austin and Chris Bay. So on Impact 1000, Chris Bay competed in the Feast or Fired match, and it contained a tag team. His briefcase that he got contained a tag team title opportunity. Surprise, surprise. What a shock. So, Chris Bay said on October 5th that he was cashing in basically the opportunity at Bound for Glory for the Impact World Tag Team Championship, and yeah, that's where we're at now. This should be a lot of fun. I know the Rascals right now are in full heel mode with tons of shenanigans. But if they keep the shenanigans at a minimum, this has the potential to be a tremendous match. Ace Austin and Chris Bay, underappreciated tag team. See, this would have been a tremendous tag team to have in the Super Juniors. Absolutely tremendous. This would have been fun as hell. Then the Knockouts tag team titles will also be on the line, where Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, aka MK Ultra, will be taking on the team of Deonna Purrazzo and Tasha Steelz. Tasha Steelz also returned to Impact on Impact 1000. She and Purrazzo sort of decided to be allies, and now they're challenging for the titles. Should be a lot of fun. I mean, Masha Slamovich is special. She is a special talent. Deonna's great. I'm excited for this. I'm legitimately excited to see how this is going to go. Something that I'm a little more apprehensive on is the Impact X Division title match, where Chris Sabin will be defending against Kenta. And I am not into 2023 Kenta. He had one really good match, one solid, great match this year against Will Ospreay, all tying into the theme of the night. But he did have a tremendous match against Will Ospreay. But outside of that, man, his work has been tedious and rough. And I don't know, God bless Chris Sabin, who's going to be undertaking this match here. What's he going to do? Like, legitimately. Then we have the Impact Knockouts World Title match, where Trinity is going to be defending her title against Mickie James. As you may recall, Mickie James was forced to vacate the Impact Knockouts title because of an injury. Then in Impact 1000, she made a return from injury, teaming with Trinity to win a tag team match, a 10 knockout tag team match. Although during the post-match celebration, Mickie was, she was sort of eyeing the belt, right? And then over the next couple of weeks, she helps out Trinity defeat Giselle Shaw. Well, she doesn't help her defeat Giselle Shaw. She helps keep Giselle Shaw's entourage, the Shawntourage, away, so that Trinity can have a fighting chance to retain her belt. But, Mickie was like, hey, I never really lost this title. And Trinity's like, okay, do you want a shot? And, James said yes. And we're having this look. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. So good. I mean, I'm all for it. Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay. It is happening. This was the match that was supposed to happen this past March at the, was it called the Multiverse? I don't remember what it was called. But at the Impact show, WrestleMania weekend, but then Ospreay got hurt. So this is the redo, to the joy of many. I mean, listen, Mike Bailey is a beast in and about himself. Tremendous work rate. He has elevated his game substantially this year as well. He just goes out and wrestles all the time. Mike Bailey, that's Mike Bailey, right? Will Ospreay, we talked about him earlier. I don't know what to add. Just having a career banner year. And this is a match that a lot of fans have been looking forward to seeing. I'm glad we're getting it. It kind of feels like Will Ospreay is going through all of these big time matches that he can before signing somewhere. A lot of people seem to think that AEW is the shoe-in, but I'll tell you, the way he's burning through these, indie matches and, smaller matches, it gives me the impression that he feels he's going to work for a company that is going to restrict his his match capabilities a little more. I don't know. I don't want to put that out into the world, but he might also re-sign with New Japan. There's also that. Anyway, that's going to rule. And in the main event, Alex Shelley is going to be defending the Impact World title against Josh Alexander. Alexander never lost the title as well. He wants it back. They've been reluctantly on the same side of things in the past couple of weeks, but now it's all going to come to a head. Alex Shelley's great. Big Alex Shelley fan. And I think he was the right guy to carry this title. I get the MacLeod thing, but with Alexander and so on. But Alex Shelley, man, I think he deserved the nod. I think he did a very good job. And I did say did because I think he's dropping it to Josh Alexander. Because listen, there is no one on this roster that elevates everyone else as much as Josh Alexander does. And again, no disrespect to Alex Shelley. He's a fantastic worker. But Alexander right now is absolutely in his prime. And now he's got a couple of injuries. There are things they need to be doing with Josh Alexander right now that need to be done before his injuries get too serious and come back to haunt him. Alexander is a tremendous worker. I think he should collect the belt here and go on another tear as champion and elevate everyone he works with. Because there was no better worker in Impact. Look, if you want to do a comparison, he was the Will Ospreay of Impact. Everyone that he wrestled, they just wrestled better. This is how good this guy is. And there's no indications that he'll be moving around anytime soon, that he wants to get signed anywhere else. I think he is very, very happy doing what he does in Impact. And I think Impact needs a guy like him, a work rate guy, a guy who is uncompromising, who's solid, charismatic, great baby face. We'll see how this turns out, but I'm excited for this match. I think this is going to be a sneaky good card, folks. Not even sneaky. This is going to be a good card. But, always with the same apprehensions that I have with Impact stuff, right? Because Impact stuff is like, Impact pay-per-views are always the same in the sense that the stuff that is bound to hit on Bound for Glory, but the stuff that is bound to hit is going to hit hard and it's going to be great. And the stuff that is going to be so-so is just going to make you want to cry maybe at some points. But I don't see anything on this that is a complete and utter disaster. Nothing like there's no 15-minute, Tommy Dreamer singles match. You know what I mean? There's none of that. There's no 20-minute Bubba Ray match. Of course, he's going to take up a tremendous amount of space on the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match, but it's always that with Impact. You sort of grit your teeth, you get through it. I think there's too many people who sleep on it thinking that it stinks when it doesn't. There's legitimately too much good stuff on Impact to just hand wave it. I really do. Just wish there were more. And on that note, we are going to wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection. Will Ospreay be the face of WWE Europe? Exactly, chat. You read my mind. If WWE Europe ever happens, right? Anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes for the live recording. We record live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you can ever make it, we would love to have you. It'd be tremendous. And those of you who did make it, I love you. You're tremendous. Thank you for being here. Leave a like on the video if you can. Subscribe if this is your first time here, and that way you will never miss another thing coming out of my mouth ever again. or if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify help out tremendously. Hey, by the way, I am on YouTube Music now. YouTube Music has the Mr. Warren Hayes Show there as well. So, yeah. I don't know if you use that to listen to podcasts, but it's suddenly become even better. I will be back on Thursday for the AEW Dynamite review, back on Sunday for the Collision review, and that pretty much sums it up. Hope you all have a great, fantastic rest of your week. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you next time.